is going on, aliens? I'm Mike Rosa, and I'm with Sam North, who runs fitness rehab for Anabolic aliens.
What's up, guys?
Today, we're going to be going over 10 exercises to help fix anterior pelvic tilt and lordosis. Now, Sam, you want to explain what those things are to the aliens?
Absolutely. So anterior pelvic tilt is when your hips shift forward, and it's going to create an exaggerated arch in your lower back. So that's exactly what lordosis is. You may see people walking around with their chest up or even their shoulders in and having that exaggerated arch just above their hips. So we're going to be rolling into 10 exercises that will help you reverse this position.
Let's get it. All right, aliens, the first exercise we're going to do is the hip flexor stretch.
All right, let's get things started. So Mike is here in a half kneel. What we're gonna start with is a pelvic tilt. So like you just saw, rolling our hips into that position. You should start to feel a stretch there, but to get even more of a stretch, he's gonna lift the arm on that side across his body, trying to elongate that entire side. There we go. And this is important because our hip flexors attach to our legs and then they reach to our spine. And having tight hip flexors can pull you into that position. So what he's doing is he's going into that pelvic tilt, reaching all the way up, getting that stretch, holding it for a good 5 seconds, and then coming back and relaxing completely, letting go of that pelvic tilt, right? Going back into it. We're trying to train our brain to get used to this position. So do about 10 on each side, and that's a good start.
Let's get it with exercise 2, aliens, which is the supine pelvic tilt.
All right, so we've been talking about the pelvic tilt a little bit. We're gonna practice it in a different position here. So Mike is laying flat on his back with his knees bent, and he's gonna go into that pelvic tilt. So he's rolling his hips back, drawing his belly button towards the floor, and he's closing that gap underneath his lower back, right? So you shouldn't be able to fit your hand underneath there. He's holding it for a good 5 seconds, and then he's gonna relax completely, come out of that tilt, and then he's gonna go right back into it. So we're trying to train our body to feel comfortable engaging those muscles. So what we're doing here is we're using our transverse abdominis, which is our innermost core muscle, and we're using our glutes as well to put us in that position. Okay, so we're doing this for 5 seconds and do 2 sets of 15, right? Really practice that movement and get comfortable with it. So this is really gonna help you with your core exercises that you do in your regular workouts. And you'll see in the next exercise.
Exercise 3, aliens, supine marches.
All right, so we're going into a core exercise here. We're trying to build up our strength around our lower back to be able to hold that good position. So Mike's gonna come, bring his feet up, his knees are at 90 degrees. The most important thing here is that pelvic tilt, right? So remember, drawing the belly button in, closing that gap at the lower back, and he's gonna kick one leg out at a time, making sure that he's not driving that knee up. He's alternating back and forth, maintaining that pelvic tilt. That's the most important thing, right? So slow and controlled, making sure we're not coming out. The further you reach out and the slower you go, the more difficult it should be. It's gonna pull on your back and your core. It's gonna make you want to lift up, but try and avoid that. Okay, so we're gonna do 15 on each side for 2 sets.
Let's get it, exercise 4, aliens, straight-legged hip bridge.
All right, so for this next one, you'll need a couch here or an object that's about knee height. Okay, so we have our heels up on that object. Mike is going to go into a pelvic tilt, squeeze his glutes, and lift his body so he's in a nice straight line. So you want to avoid over-exaggerating that arch, right? We don't want to put stress on our back and putting yourself in that lordosis position that we're trying to avoid, right? So nice and controlled, pelvic tilt, squeeze the glutes so you're nice and straight. Hold this for about 3 seconds and then drop right back down, relax, teach yourself to go in that position again and come right back up, okay? So you're gonna do 2 sets of this for 15 reps. It can be very easy with this exercise to put stress on your back, just trying to lift yourself up. but make sure you're focusing on that pelvic tilt. That will help avoid it.
On to exercise 5, aliens. We're gonna hit that clam shell.
All right, so for the clamshell, we have a small band just above our knees here, and we're laying on our side. So you're gonna position yourself so your feet, your ass, and your shoulders are in a nice straight line. So he's gonna push his feet back a little bit right there. And you don't wanna prop yourself up on your forearm like a side plank, because that's gonna put your spine in a weird position. So he's completely flat here, and he's going to drive his knees apart. Keeping his feet together, perfect right there. So you don't need to hold this one as long, just maybe 2 seconds, and just going through that repetition. So the important thing for this exercise is not to roll back. So it's gonna be difficult because your glutes are gonna get fatigued very quickly, and you're gonna wanna cheat by rolling back. So avoid that, make sure you stay nice and straight. If you need a little help, go against a wall or something, put something behind you, that can help as well. So for this, we're gonna do 15 reps for 2 sets on each side. All right, so the purpose for this exercise is to strengthen our glutes. Our glutes help with hip extension, right? When we're walking, when we're running, getting that full extension of our hips. So having glute strength will take the stress off our hamstrings and allow us to hold our back in a better position, right? If we're neglecting our glutes and they're not strong enough, we're gonna be stuck in that lordosis, that anterior pelvic tilt.
Number 6, aliens, internal hip rotation.
All right, so another one for our glutes here. This is helping with our hip extension and our anterior pelvic tilt. So we are set up on a table right here. So his feet are in the air. He has a pillow between his knees to avoid from caving in, and he has a band over the arches of his feet. So what he's doing is he is driving his feet apart and then controlling them in. Okay, so we're internally rotating our femur like that. That's why you get the internal hip rotation. Should feel it right up in here. It's gonna be a very difficult exercise, but make sure you're doing it nice and controlled. That band's gonna feel very heavy, but don't let it snap you back in. So he's doing a good job here, sitting up nice and tall, holding that pelvic tilt as he's going through that movement, making sure you're breathing through it. We're gonna do 2 sets of 15 reps.
On to number 7, aliens, the single leg RDL.
All right, so you may have seen this exercise before. It does look a little crazy, but when done correctly, it can be one of the most effective exercises and tools you can have. Okay, so Mike is going into a pelvic tilt here, right? Maintaining that position all the way through the movement. He's going to hinge, kicking that other leg back. He has a stiff leg here. He's not locked out. He doesn't have to hold it as long. He can come right back up. Well, pelvic tilt, that's the most important thing. We're trying to train our brains into holding that position through different movements. So he's really working on his core stability, his glutes, his hamstrings throughout this movement. Good, so he's doing an awesome job keeping his back nice and level, right? You don't wanna reach too far and get all the way down to the floor, because then you are releasing that core engagement, right? And you're just trying to get as much range as possible, and that's not what we're looking for here. So we're gonna do 15 reps for 2 sets on each side. And if you want a little more of a challenge and you throw a weight in your hand, make sure it's the opposite hand of the leg that's down, right? Because that's gonna help keep your hips nice and square.
Number 8, aliens, side steps.
All right, so we're gonna be standing for this one. Mike is setting up with a band over the arches of his feet, okay? So once he comes up, he is going to get in almost like an athletic stance, not the lowest crouch, but that's perfect right there. And he's going to push one foot out. There you go, and followed by the other one. Don't let that following foot snap right back in. Nice and controlled as he's going through that movement, okay? And try not to drag the feet either. We want to put as much stress on the glutes as we can through a controlled movement. And we want to use that pelvic tilt for this exercise as well, right? Everything we do, rolling right into that, perfect. To maintain that position, we want to get used to engaging our glutes while we're holding that. Awesome. So we don't have much space here, but what we're going to be doing is 15 steps in one direction, 15 steps in the other direction, and repeating that 2 times.
Let's go, aliens. Number 9, the press out.
All right, so here's a core exercise for you. We are going to start in a pelvic tilt, so rolling our hips back, perfect, maintaining our core engagement. I'm gonna be providing tension on this band as Mike presses straight out in front of him. So he brings it in and then presses straight out, nice and controlled, pausing at the end. Good. So this is an anti-rotation exercise, so I'm forcing him to come this way, and he's resisting me right now. So he's maintaining that pelvic tilt as he's getting different stress in different directions. This is perfect. Nice and controlled, nice and slow. We're gonna do 2 sets of 15 reps in each direction. Okay, and for this exercise, you can also set this up in a door if you don't have somebody else or a partner to help you out with this. That works as well.
Number 10, aliens, is gonna be how to correctly do a plank.
All right, last but not least, one of the most common exercises that you will ever see and what most people do incorrectly. So we're set up in a plank position here. Mike has his hips sagging a little bit. He's gonna lift up and roll into that pelvic tilt, right? We don't wanna exaggerate. We don't want our ass sticking up in the air, and we don't want to have that arch. So Mike is has muscular back here, so it shows a little bit more, but he's rotating his hips as he's holding this position. You should be holding that the entire time during the movement. As soon as you relax or as soon as you get too fatigued, you'll start to feel that in your spine, and that's a no-go. We don't want that, right? So go for as long as you can, right? If this is too difficult for you, you can always drop to your knees to create less stress and practice there, and then eventually move up. But I would say go for it at your own discretion, right? Try 30 seconds to a minute, whatever works best for you.
All right, aliens, we hope you like these 10 exercises and can really use them to your advantage. This is something that I have to be very mindfully aware of. Getting into that pelvic tilt position is something that I really kind of forget about when I'm exercising, and working with people like Sam who help me remember it really brings back a lot of the functionality that's so important to actually improving my exercise in the most safe way as well as optimal way possible. Because when you do these things correctly, you significantly feel that exercise a ton more. It's actually a crazy difference. So make sure to smash that thumbs up button for me and click that notification bell right and subscribe so you don't miss any good uploads from me. I'm uploading all the time, and you want to go see me?
Absolutely. So this is something that you need to make a habit, a staple in your everyday life, okay? So there's 2 takeaways that you should have from this video. 1, the pelvic tilt, right? You need to be engaging the right muscles, holding yourself in the proper position with anything you do. Whether you are doing a back squat and you have a barbell on your back, or if you are pulling something out of the fridge, right? Think about it. Pelvic tilt, pelvic tilt, pelvic tilt, any position you're in. Also, your glutes. Don't neglect your glutes. Glute strength helps with everything. It's gonna help you stay and maintain that position as well.
And for you bros, actually focusing on this pelvic tilt positioning will really help strengthen your core. Those 6-pack abs, it all works together. So aliens, we will see you in the next video. Thank you for your support as always. Make sure to check out Anabolic and get the new exercise tank, first one ever. All right, peace.
Together we